Hey, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Generations Unfiltered. I'm Channing Curtis.
And I'm Dr. Dee Dee Curtis.
All right, well, we got to talk about the feud. This is the Real House, I guess the Real Housewives of DC. Is that it? Is that what we're calling it?
Or Mar-a-Lago,
The
whichever.
Real Housewives of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
This feud between
Or the
Donald
house
Trump,
husbands.
the
House
house
husbands
husband
of
of
DC.
Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
This feud between Elon Musk and Donald Trump because wait, I had to stop paying attention to what what was happening on social media because it had gotten just too much, and I couldn't. I just could not. I I finally just had to stop
hmm
because it's so much with the back and forth.
Well, I have several videos that I have made on that subject, and this is what happens. You have two of probably the most narcissistic men in the world. You
True.
have the wealthiest man in the world and the most powerful man in the world, and they thought they were going to be friends.
Exactly. That's what I said. That's exactly it.
I mean, really, come on now. Come on. That's like,
Yes.
that was a marriage that definitely was
No.
already intended to not last.
Yes.
But I think that what happened is when they were looking at the big beautiful bill, and I do understand Elon is very concerned about our debt because right, I mean our yeah. Right now, our national debt is at $36 trillion, and he didn't want anything added to it. He thinks it needs to be dropped tremendously, so that because the interest payments on that debt, the interest payments are so high, he said it's going to bankrupt the country. Okay, President Trump, as a politician, ran and said, "I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to have no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, and I'm going to, although this is not a part of this bill on Social Security, we're going to do all of these things." And so, since he promised that, his thing is the bill that they are bringing in right now. These things have to be added to that bill, and so by them being added to the bill, it's going to increase the debt. That's what Elon is saying, and President Trump is like, "Give us time. We have to do this." But this is a thing that people have to understand. That's why he was also instituting tariffs, because tariffs that's revenues. And right now, most of the revenues that come into our country are from individual taxes. Almost 90% is individual taxes. Income taxes is, I think, like 49%. And then and payroll taxes is like 34%. Then
Mhm.
the other percentage is like for other taxes like property taxes, estate taxes, things like that. And that's the revenues. And so the reason that President Trump was trying to do tariffs also produce revenues. And so we have those revenues, it can offset taxes, and it also could offset the debt. And so Elon is like this as a business person, all he's thinking is, let's do it right now. And it's the same thing with Doge. When he went in and they did all of the audits of all of the agencies and found out all of this waste. As a CEO of several companies, Elon is like, okay, let's fire everybody, let's do all of this, and let's do this right now.
Mhm.
Donald Trump can't do that because, first of all, we found out the federal judges think they're running our country right now, so they try to stop everything. Plus, you have a Congress that he has to deal with, and you even have the people. And so Donald Trump cannot be as impetuous as say Elon Musk. And Elon did not or does not understand it. Maybe he will. And so he would, to me, but that's how it started, and then it became personal.
Oh no, it's definitely personal now.
It became personal, and it never should have been.
It definitely became personal, but you knew it was going to. Like, as soon as they started arguing, I said as soon as he gave that interview to CBS, as soon as Elon Musk gave that CBS interview where he started talking about when he made those first comments about the big, beautiful bill, I knew then that there was an issue. And everybody knew then. Like, you knew then that there was some type of issue because it was the first time that he had really hinted that there was some type of issue, that there was any type of discord in their relationship, that he had kind of, gone away from whatever it was that they were all kind of saying, what the whole Trump administration was saying. And then, that's when afterwards, like he put out that tweet saying that, like his time would had run its course and everything as a special government employee. But then he kept talking and he kept like making these little bitty like digs. at
Digs
Trump.
at Trump,
And
and
it
Trump's
was like
not
little
that
bitty
kind.
petty stuff that he kept saying. Like that's when he would make that little comment where he said in another interview, and he kept talking about the big beautiful bill, and he made then another comment talking about how he wouldn't be contributing to any further campaigns.
Yeah.
And then like it was just little bitty stuff, and you knew he was alluding to Trump, but he wasn't outright. And then all of a sudden, just like the floodgates opened, he like went to Twitter one morning, and was like, "All right, this is it," and started typing away, and you were like, "Oh no." Somebody take his phone like immediately.
Well, the thing about this is again, Elon and Elon is a business person. He's not a politician. He's
No.
not definitely not a Washington politician. And so he's handling all of it as if he were just a business person. President Trump can't do that. And the thing about it, if you are a part of an administration in Washington, D.C., or in government, that you cannot do that and go against the administration in that capacity. And you notice, you think about it, and although people disagree all the time, that's why you have cabinet meetings. That's what a meeting, and that's why you have some closed meetings so that you can iron out. Well, maybe not even iron out. You might not ever agree, but at least you don't go like. Let me tell you who's not doing that. JD Vance is not having an interview on Fox and saying that he disagrees with President Trump.
No.
Neither is the Secretary of State, neither is Secretary of Interior. They don't do that. That is not the way they do that. But Elon, not being a politician, he's like, well, heck, I can say whatever I want to. I don't agree with this, and I'm going to go out here and say it. He shouldn't have done that. That was to me, that was a betrayal of trust. President Trump has trusted him. He has allowed him to be in cabinet meetings. He has taken him on trips. He's let him be in meetings with foreign leaders when that was not his capacity. He was not in the right capacity for it in the first place. But President Trump, he trusted him to be in that position, and he probably shouldn't have. That was a mistake on his part. And so to me, this is where I look at it. I'm glad the marriage is over in 6 months. I think that's the best thing. Let the marriage go on, and then y'all can go on about your lives. I think that's the way I look at it. Go on. Go, and it's fine. It's not, to me, I don't see it as it's not necessarily a reflection on either one, except I think Elon got personal. And I think he got personal. He did something that you cannot take yourself back from. And it's like, as my child, I will tell you, you don't ever say something to someone that I'm sorry cannot fix. When
Yeah.
you say something that an I'm sorry cannot fix, then it's messed up for life.
Yeah. You're not coming back from those accusations at
Yeah,
all.
you're not. You're not.
I guess, do you think it's staged, or do you think that they're actually fighting?
Well, I don't know. Some days I think it's staged. At first, I thought it was staged, and then when Elon said that about Epstein Island, then I was like, no, that's not staged. I think he was
Yeah.
at home. You know what? Because this, wait a minute, this is the funny part about it, and I really need to write about it, and I think I really should write a book about it because they both on social media sites. That's the funny part.
Yes.
And instead of them calling each other on the phone or being in a meeting, guess what they're doing? They're posting
Mhm.
on a social media site. I'm like, in the first place, stop that. You stop that. You all both stop posting an argument on social media. You stop that. And so Elon posted his little thing, and once you post it and once you hit that send button, you can't get it back. You
Yep.
it's out there. And so I think, now, you know what? I'm going to say, I think President Trump's feelings were really hurt. That would have hurt my feelings for someone to say that. First of all, the trust. Even if it were true, which I don't believe it is from other sources of information that I have, and I'll discuss that in a minute. Even if it were true, a person that you have trusted and you have been friends with does not say that on a social media site. Because in the first place, wait a minute, let me tell you what's really funny. Kash Patel was on Fox News. He was on, I don't remember who was interviewing him, and they asked him, he was like, I am not getting in that fight.
Like,
And
nope.
Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. And something that I want to say, and I'm sure other people have said this, Elon has a security clearance. And one thing that they did say on this, wherever Kash was being interviewed, and I'm thinking, I'm trying to think. I was saying it was on Fox, maybe it was on Joe Rogan. Anyway, one of those. The one thing about it, that information is classified. That's classified information. he cannot do that, because just think, if he would do that, what else has he heard that he might divulge? And so Cash Patel immediately said, if he has it, I don't know where he got that information from. So, and because they don't know where he got it from, then it just sounds petty. It sounds like, it
Mhm.
sounds like a fifth grade girl to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
What do you think?
No, I never thought it was staged. Well, maybe like for a second I did. As soon as like Elon Musk though started talking about Epstein, I was like, oh no, that's not staged anymore. Because those aren't the kind of accusations that you hurl
No.
at somebody, and even in a staged argument. I did though for a little bit because actually because of what you said, the fact that they were just only posting on their own social media
Mm-hmm.
sites, and it's forcing everybody to go to their social media sites
Yeah,
and
it's true.
cover their social media sites. So
Mm-hmm.
literally every news outlet in the world has to go to Truth Social and to X to pull their tweet or their whatever you call them, truths, whatever you call them on Truth
Mm-hmm.
Social.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
like I
they're
don't even wait,
truths. I
right?
think they're
Anyway,
called
well, I guess you call them
the
posts now
truths
on X. I
and
don't know what you
post.
call
Yeah.
like whatever you call them on either one. But now you have to go to both of their sites now, and every media outlet in the world is going to their sites and monitoring both of their social media accounts constantly to see what they're talking about. And it's kind of a genius move. Um, and it also would be a relatively good exit strategy for Elon Musk, for him to kind of distance himself from Trump and the Trump administration, as because he has always, not always, but he has had a pretty decent relationship with the media and with the public prior to the Trump administration, prior to his dealings with Trump. And it would be an easy out for him. I don't
Well,
think that's necessarily what's going on here, though. I really don't.
I don't know. I think that was a low blow. I think that was
That's
the
what I'm saying. I do too.
lowest blow that you can have, because what in the first place right now, this is why it was a really low blow. We are at the brink of World War III. President Trump was on the phone for an hour and a half just a couple of days ago trying to keep Putin from really escalating World War III. Okay, then he has this trade deal with China. He's trying to keep Iran off and keep them from nuking the world and all of this. If Elon really cared about this country, that's the last thing he would have done. I mean, that's the last thing, because President Trump needs that. He needs the trust of the people in order for him to have power to keep us out of a world war. So I don't know, to me, that's one of those things that you can't come back from. Because this is why I say, if Elon thought that about President Trump, he should have said it in January. He could have said it in February. Right now, the fact that he saved it to the point when he wasn't pleased with this big, beautiful bill, it sounded very childish. And not only that, Elon, you wait a minute. Didn't I just send you like 2 days ago a picture of Donald Trump with little ex Elon's baby? And the little
Mm.
boy is so cute and he just runs around and he loves the president. And I think it's funny, their relationship. Okay, so Elon is saying, I believe this man does something to children, but I'm going to trust my child with him. That in itself does not make sense. If it makes sense, then he needs to be visited by Child Protective Services. So he that's why I said that was such a petty, and it makes me think it's something with him. That's not normal. That is not normal behavior, and that was so low. It, and it makes me wonder, because we all know people that will go low with people, but I have okay, being in a sorority 40 something years ago, and you would see things that nobody else, you know things about people that you never repeat. You never tell people. I have secrets, or people, I have seen secrets, or people have told me secrets 45 years ago. I would not repeat it even right now, because I'm like, what's the purpose? And so my thing with Elon was, what was his goal? Does he want President Trump to be impeached? Does he want him to be arrested? Does he want everything to happen? All of these things, when he says he's pretended to care so much about our country. And then this is the funny part: the Democrats are like, "Oh, yeah, release the the Epstein, release the Epstein files," and they had to back off from that because we know. I know who's in the Epstein files, and believe me, they don't want the Epstein files released. And then you saw that Epstein's
Well, that's
attorney.
to me the easy fix. Just release them all.
Well, yeah, to me too. But Epstein's attorney, they had, luckily somebody had a video that they interviewed him. Around the time that Epstein was unalive, and he said Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. People like there are many people that are researchers that know that we've never seen him on any of those lists or anything. And if he had been, if they made up Crossfire Hurricane, if Hillary Clinton made up Russiagate, and they spent 7 years investigating him on all of this stuff that they created. If Donald Trump was on the Epstein list, they would have used it against him a long time ago. And so all of this, it seemed very petty, and I hate it because we had so much respect for Elon. Now I see him as a fifth grade girl. I didn't. I mean, he reminds me of the girl. Oh, wait a minute. No. I'm going to tell the world this. Channing, when she was a little, was terrible at playing games. So if she lost playing Candyland, or any of those little games, she would throw the board up. She would just pick the board up and throw it up so nobody knew. Or Monopoly, she was a terrible sport. That's the way I see Elon Musk. Well, since I can't play and I'm not winning, I'm just going to throw the board up. And that's what that was, because it didn't benefit anyone. If he thought, the only way that I would say that Elon should have reported that or said that is if he thought that some child was in danger, and that was the implication. And that's all that you could have, that should have been the only reason. If he thought some child was in danger, and clearly he didn't think that, because I just had a picture of his child with him 2 days ago. So that he didn't think that. That was a petty, childish thing, I think.
So you don't think, so wait, you don't think that he thinks that Donald Trump is really on the list, or you don't think that he thinks?
Well, you know what? Okay, let me fix this too. What he said, he did not ever say Donald Trump went to Epstein Island. He said Donald Trump he said he was either on the list or he was in the Epstein files. That doesn't mean anything, because what I heard was that Donald Trump was one of the ones that started the investigation. And so that's why he would be in the files. You understand?
The tweet says he's on the list.
Oh, it says he's on the list.
It says he's on the list.
But it doesn't say on the list for what.
It just says that he's on the Epstein list.
Okay, which list? Okay, again, it didn't say he was on the list and he went to Epstein Island. And I've heard several people say that he flew from Florida to New York, but I've not heard anyone. And I mean, I have, one of my first investigations was in child trafficking, and so I have never, and I can honestly say that, as much as I have studied this, I have never seen Donald Trump's name on anything to do with children like that. Never. And believe me, sometimes I think I know too much. But anyway, I've never seen his name on anything like that. But the people that they said he was involved in the investigation, and I had heard someone say that he flew one time, or maybe from Florida to New York, but no one has ever said, and Elon didn't say that. And that's the thing about it. This is why I'm also not happy with Elon. If he was going to make it could not be a veiled threat like that. He needed, his goal, because he said, a good evening, DJT, or something, having a good, nice evening, DJT. That meant that his goal was to wipe him out. And to wipe him out, he would have to say, you were on Epstein Island and you did so and so and so and so, and all of this. He did not say that. So all he did was make the implication for everybody else to fill in the blanks. And this is what I say about that. If you don't have any evidence that he did something that's illegal, unethical, or something that would just, with me, my pet thing is child trafficking, or anything dealing with children. if you don't have any evidence that he harmed children, don't make that implication. Don't throw that out there, because all it is, it was counterproductive. Had he had the information, though, if you have the information, then you can, but be specific. I say, on we saw 10 times that you flew to Epstein Island, and if he doesn't have that kind of information, don't make that kind of I don't know, that implication. I think that was as low of a blow as you could possibly go. That's all I can say. And I'm glad that President Trump has handled it professionally. He just says, I don't want to have anything to do with him. And you understand that, because actually that's the kind of something somebody can say about anybody. They really can.
Well, that's the thing though. I'm like, what's the difference in him saying that about him and then, I mean, other people saying that about other celebrities? I mean, like, like what's kind of the difference?
I'm not,
Well,
well,
what I'm saying is, I'm like, yes, like it is a low blow, but I mean, like a lot of times, like we hear things about like celebrities also say being on the Epstein list or something like that, where we don't have any proof of it either.
well, some people do have proof now. That
Maybe, but
the proof has
maybe,
been
but like
out.
a lot of people also do not know that. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe some people do, but sometimes people will throw out names. Like, or even, for example, like using even another example, like for example, like the Diddy trial. Like people are
Mhm.
throwing out names and saying like people have been like tied in with the Diddy trial that have not been tied in, and saying all kinds of celebrity names that have been thrown in that have not been brought up and are in no way, shape, or form anywhere near this trial, and
Well,
people are running rampant with it. And so
I,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, what's the difference? I'm like, I
I
personally
say
think
the
they're both
same thing.
wrong. I personally think they're both wrong, but yeah, but people do it a lot. Absolutely.
Well, but still, say the same thing about the Diddy list. You and I talked about a celebrity that someone said was at one of the parties. I said, just because the person was at the party, it does not
Mhm.
mean that the person did something illegal. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. When I was in college, and I'll say that I have never done drugs before, but I went to college. I
Mhm.
was in college. So if I'm at a party and they're in the back room doing whatever they're doing, that and somebody says, well, she was at the party, just me being at the party, it does not mean I was doing what they were doing. And
Mhm.
so that, and my whole thing with Elon saying that is he was making an implication. He didn't say, I have, and if he really
Yeah.
wanted, he should, if it were as legit, he would have said, on this, well, not necessarily a date, but I know that you flew here and you did so and so.
Oh
But
yeah, he would have put out more information.
yeah, the
Because like he even
implication.
he followed up with subsequent tweets. Now he followed up with some stuff that looks bad, like proving like their past relationship with like Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and like showing like quotes even like in different magazines, like
Yeah, I
Trump
saw
had
that.
given on
But
like a Jeffrey Epstein.
but you have to also know who
And
Jeffrey Epstein was and why he was there.
I do
His
know,
whole
and like, listen, like,
Okay.
I do know, like, listen, I've seen the documentaries, I've read the thing,
Hmm.
I followed that case, like, I followed that case very closely. That's what I was like. I know, like, people did have accusations and say mention Trump's name, but I can't remember in what way, shape, or form. So that's why I'm like, I'm not familiar. I can't remember how or why.
Hmm.
I do remember his name coming up though. So that's why I was like, I'm familiar with his name coming up. But I
Well,
do remember also because also they lived very close to each other in Mar-a-Lago being so close to where Jeffrey Epstein's house was. And I remember that came up very often too. And yes, they ran in similar circles. So yes, that was also very prevalent. But like you said, if Elon really had all this information and you really
he
want to
would have been
bury the man,
specific.
release it. Like, but I've said that from day
And be
one about these
specific,
lists. Release
because
all the information. If you have it on these people, release it. Tell everybody. Tell the whole world.
well, if and two, if we since we're talking about Epstein, Epstein is kind of like P Diddy. He belonged to that, and where they use them to blackmail celebrities. That's their purpose. That was their purpose. And so if Donald Trump was very popular at that time. I mean, well, like, what am I talking about? Donald Trump has always been popular, and so he would be a target person for Epstein, just like anybody else, just like Michael Jackson and anybody else. Any celebrity at that time, if that was his purpose was to get people in compromising positions. And just think about it. That's like, again, going back to P. Diddy. Remember when they were saying one of the athletes was at P. Diddy's Diddy's party. I said, okay, if P. Diddy's purpose was to get people in compromising positions so that he could blackmail them, then of course he could go and get every football player, every
Mhm.
basketball player, every entertainer, and they could be at his party. And guess what? Somebody could say, I saw him at a Diddy party.
And that's
And
it.
that's all you have to say. And to me, that's the way I look at what Elon did to Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump in his 20s, and they showed them at a party
Oh yeah.
dancing. I said, okay, I'm sure I've been in the at some parties with some criminals, and everybody has. If you're going to a club, there are going to be some people in the club that's not on the up and up. And but if somebody took a picture and they
No,
took
for
a
a
picture
fact I
of me, they took a picture of me, and then they took a picture of some. Okay, oh, or you? I'm gonna give you. You worked in the music industry. I'm
I was
sure.
like, I know for a fact I have.
Right, I'm not. That's what I'm about to say. You worked in the music industry with one of the largest producers in the country. You saw every entertainer, and so they could do. Do you understand that the exact same thing could happen to you? They
Oh
could
yeah.
say, "Here's Channing Curtis, and there was Diddy over in the corner." Okay, does that mean that you did anything wrong being with Diddy? No, it doesn't. It meant that y'all were in the same place at the same time. Because I
Yep.
saw the videos too. They were showing Donald Trump them dancing and
Oh yeah.
Epstein dancing and with
Yeah.
all of these people. But understand, what was Epstein's role? Epstein's role was to go and put people in compromising positions so that right now we can have this conversation.
Yeah.
That was his role, the conversation. You can create an illusion of guilt just by being in the same place of these people. And you know what? If truth be told, you think about it, all of the entertainers that you have been with, uh, that you all did concerts with or whatever, and you think about how many compromising positions you could have been in and you never knew it. Right. And so that's my same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. Is the same thing that I say about some of these athletes or some of the other entertainers that were at the. Just think about it. People in New York and I'm just going to use P Diddy Epstein. Either one, they are having a party. And the people in the in crowd in their 20s or maybe early 30s are going to this party. What's the purpose of the party? If
Mhm.
the purpose of the party was to be able to do this, you take pictures of
Mhm.
everybody there, and then you have those pictures, and 10 years from now, you can use that picture against them. That's
Yep.
that's the whole purpose. And everybody now, I think everybody understands that was Epstein's purpose. I hope people understand that. I mean, it's been widely publicized
Yeah.
that was his purpose is to put people in compromising positions, and then you own them for life. And you think about it, Donald Trump, these pictures of Donald Trump, he looked like he was in his 20s. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying for life. How old is Donald Trump now? 80. Think of how long they were able to use that information. That's why I said Elon did something that he never should have done. Because if he can't go and be specific about things, then that was something that shouldn't have happened.
All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us for another episode. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. I'm Channing Curtis.
And I'm Dee Dee Curtis.
We'll see you next time.